Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the New Era Paranormal podcast. I'm going to go ahead and do the intro.
Hello.
So this week we have JD, Neppy's president, and Irene Kiloways hosting the show. We are just getting back from the Warren Seekers of the Supernatural Paracon in Gettysburg this past weekend. We both have posted about our experiences at this event on our social media. And this week's guest is Nicole Elizabeth, who is a psychic medium that works primarily with animals.
She's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to chatting with her.
Okay.
Hello.
Nicole, can you get us started by talking about how you found the study of research and became involved?
And with animal communication, okay. So it is a little bit different. It's a little bit left field, even for psychic mediums sometimes. But my story goes way back to when I was a child. So I nearly drowned. I didn't put the dots together actually until I was an adult, but I nearly drowned when I was about 3 or 4, very, very young. I remember the experience completely. I remember being on the bottom of this pool in this theme park because back in the 80s, supervision was a little bit not great. And my dad was supervising me and I was, anyway, bottom of the pool. Love him. He's, but nearly killed me a few times. And I remember accepting death. I remember being so calm. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm going to die. And I didn't. But from that moment, that's when I realized I'd be in bed at night as a kid and then people would just walk into my room. And you don't think as a kid, oh, that's a ghost or that's this person or, you just go, oh, hi, you just accept things. But not long after that, I actually got my first cat. And for me, it was just normal to understand what she was saying or to understand what she felt, what she wanted, those sorts of things. And I would talk to her, but I didn't talk with my mouth. I'd send her messages and thoughts because that is what came naturally, especially as a child to me. And I noticed that she would do it. And so for me, that was just my normal. And so I just always had this click and connection with animals. And a lot of people will experience that too with babies or their own pets. People will say there's nothing wrong with that baby, there's nothing wrong with that pet, or, I don't know what it wants, but you'll just instinctually know there's something wrong or my animal wants this. So it's all within us. But as a kid, I just didn't know any different. But then as growing up and, you don't want to be different, you want to just be accepted, you want to be normal, talking to spirits, hearing people whispering, knowing things that you just couldn't possibly know, especially people on the other side of the world sort of thing. And, so you shut it down. Most people, a lot of kids just get shut down because people are scared of what they don't know. And then it makes you scared. So I shut it all down all through my teens, all through my 20s. But in my 30s, I started rescuing animals. Now, I'd always been the person that would find a dog or animals would come to, but you just dismiss it, right? Because you're just not in that frame of mind. But then I rescued a cow. And once I started rescuing cows and chickens, and as you can probably hear in the background, there's a lot, it just kind of all came back. And then I remember having a connection with a medium. And then one of the first things she picked up, apart from obviously the past people in my life, then when she went psychic, she said, but you're an animal communicator. And I sort of went, yeah, but I just brushed it off. And she said, no, you need to really be doing this. And I'm like, but do people do that? Do people really do that? And so then I started really looking into it, because then that cow kind of just brought back all the connections, all the feelings, all the thoughts, and I could really feel their emotions. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to have to explore this. And then one thing led to another, and here I am. That was very long, sorry.
Not long at all. Glad you're
Yeah.
here. I thought that was just people screaming in the background, not your.
Yeah. We don't talk about those ones. They're the dead people.
Very
Now.
fitting in this interview.
Like, paranormal activity, maybe residual situation.
Yes. Actually, we do have, funny you mentioned that, because my niece is an adult and she's a medium and a psychic, and she's in that phase where she's shut it down, but she's very strong. And she came here, and I know the background to this property, but she came here and she said, there's a lady with a sore head up the back of your property. The lady that used to own this house had a brain tumor and died. And that's sort of how the house became available. So there is actually a lady here that walks around, and still she's allowed to. I allow it. I love it. So yeah, it could be her. We'll say it's her.
Oh, I wonder if it's the same lady that came up in a reading I had done for your son. The older woman that was walking around. Huh,
could
interesting.
Be. Yeah, because you would have been in this room. She would have been in this room. How funny. Quite possibly. There you go.
She definitely wants to make herself known then.
Oh, yes. We respect her, so that's good.
Does mediumship sensitivity seem to be a hereditary family thing for you, Nicole?
Definitely. So my great-grandmother and my grandmother and my mum, and then it sort of came down the female side, and we all have abilities. Mine just seems to be stronger with animals, whereas my mum is, she can, if someone's pregnant, 100%, she knows it all the time. She's never wrong. My son hears things, so it's come down to him as well. He doesn't want to see them, but then my sister's kids, they have fully embraced it, and they hear everything. So it's definitely, for me, I think it's definitely a genetic thing that comes down the line. So 100%, yeah.
There's a lot of mediums, like you said, some don't want to see things, some do, some are accepting, some are just denying it, at least at the moment. Do you feel it's healthier to embrace, especially if you have children with abilities? Or do you feel it's healthier to kind of just pretend nothing's going on?
Everything's okay, I'm good.
I know the right answer. No, I'm just. But what do you feel?
I think as humans, we tend to just try to ignore it, push it away because it's different. But I think your life makes way more sense if you do embrace it, and then you can actually help your children. Because it's scary when you're saying to your mom, who was that person in my room last night telling me stuff? Or why did I see you walk into my room and then go walk off into the wall because there was a mimic in the house? And then your parents are telling you, you didn't see that. No, I just think it's damaging to the child and damaging to you to hear that. But if you actually understand it, that things will just come naturally and flourish, and you'll be authentically who you're meant to be. And I think that's important. So I think you should definitely embrace it.
Yeah. And you don't have to spend time rebuilding from what you've lost. You save them a lot of time.
Can I just say, as a child, it just flows, because obviously you're closer to that side of the spirit than, as an adult, and you haven't learnt to shut all that off. So it is easier. But when you try to open up again as an adult, I actually found it, I doubted myself a lot more. Whereas as I was a child, it's like, no, this happened. And then as an adult, you're like, oh, maybe it didn't happen. Maybe I'm just seeing things. And then all the stuff your parents tell you comes back. And you're like, oh. So yeah, it's embrace. Definitely.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So obviously, I'm not a medium, I'm an investigator, but Nicole, for you, is there certain situations where your gifts kick in? Or do you just walk down the street, see an animal, and then get a reading?
That's a good question. With the human stuff and the mediumship stuff, I tend to not allow that unless I want it to, like, I switch it on pretty much. But if I do go to a place, I do open up and I do get messages. I could say a haunted ghost tour, and I was like in my element and I loved it. But with animals, I tend to be open with them all the time because I don't feel that they're here to hurt us. I feel that, if they want to talk to me, because most animals have no one to talk to or they can't get their side of the story out. So if I'm walking past and I say, hey, actually, I do talk to all the animals I see, to be fair, even out loud. But and I'll ask questions. So to give you an example, I was on a jog down the street and I just saw this lone little bird, and I wanted an excuse to stop running, for starters, so I did. And then I stopped and spoke to the bird and just said, oh, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing in that tree? And I distinctly heard, oh, I'm just waiting for my friend. The next minute, a bird came, met it, and then they flew off together. And that freaked me out because this is sort of in the beginning of my re-journey, I guess. But it's good. And I think that anyone that wants to do this sort of work should start doing things like that, because you'll be amazed at the information you get. You'll get it from an animal and then you may read about it or hear about it later on. So I definitely talk to all the animals. I'm open to everything. But I do tend to leave the people side to my sister because I just feel her abilities are stronger. And she embraces that part more. So I hope that answers the question. I tend to carry on.
No, definitely.
Curious, like, is it any type of animal? Is it a reptile, amphibian, bird, cat?
No, that's a good question, because some communicators only stick to cats and dogs because that's what they feel comfortable with. But I will try and talk to anything and everything. The only thing that sort of scares me are snakes, purely because I live on a farm and I've had pets killed by brown snakes, because in Australia we have quite brutal snakes. You don't want to be touching any snakes in Australia. And when I first moved to this property, we had quite a few pythons. Now, they're not dangerous as such, but they will strangle chickens and things like that. I remember talking to one. I was also brave, walked into the cage. It was up high, and I started talking to it mentally, not with my voice, and it literally just turned and looked at me. And I went, I'm out. My fear took over, and then we had it safely relocated. We would never hurt them, and I would never hurt them. But yeah, I like to be open because I don't know all the animals. I don't know what they like, and I want to know. I'm just such a curious person. I want to know. So as you can see, I talk a lot, so I want to talk to them a lot.
Well, so you said snakes and reptiles, but what about insects to that level? Does it work? Does it go deeper?
You can talk to them, and I haven't actually sat and had a conversation with an ant as such, but some people do. Some people do focus on the insects, and you can actually say and speak to them, say if you've got an infestation or something like that, and just say, look, guys, I'm going to need you to move out or just move to a different area, and I'll give you an alternative or a food source. Otherwise, someone in the household may kill you, to try and give them that alternative. And I have done that, sort of spoken to the collective, but I've never had a one-on-one with like an ant, but it is possible. I just haven't done it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Are you, so do you find that, so you communicate, I mean, you have the ability to communicate with humans. I think you downplay your ability in that way. I know you're much better than that, but do you find that the animals are less inhibited, more open than a human, not because of your abilities, but just in general and how they respond to a medium?
I think so, because they don't really get the chance to voice their feelings and thoughts. A lot of animals get spoken at, and that's it. They never have the chance to have their feelings and thoughts even acknowledged. So when someone, I remember sometimes I will say to just start speaking to animals, and then they're like, you can hear me? You're like, you can connect. So anyone can connect. And I feel like a lot of animals would be receptive. I've never actually had an animal say, I'm not talking to you. And I don't think that's just because it's me. I just think it's like they're just so happy to talk to someone. So I to answer your question, yes, I think they're a lot more receptive than people to talk to.
Well, you made me think of, have you ever seen the videos where they have the buttons for the animals to press
Oh, yeah.
and they communicate? I never
Yeah.
thought about that, but yeah, it's they do. They're very open to communicating. It's almost shocking the level to which they respond.
Yeah. And, I have also had the question of what's the difference between animal training and animal communication? And some people that could say with those buttons, well, it's just training, but it's not. They know the energy behind what they're saying.
Mhm.
They know what they want to portray and they do it. So, yeah, they're smarter than we give them credit for, I think.
Very true.
Yeah.
Does the idea of reincarnation come through readings? Does it seem?
That's
I
a
don't
good
know.
question. A lot of people want to know, is this my childhood pet? Will you come back? Does reincarnation exist? All sorts of things. And I think that we should never be shut off to anything, because anything I think in spirit is available and an option. And I think when we're in spirit, we're going to learn so much more than we ever could have thought. So when I see pets, I see the pets next to their childhood pets. So that's how I have to describe it. That's the only way I sort of see it. Now, whether they interpret that as their pet reincarnated or not, that's sort of their belief and their interpretation. But I just see them next to them, and our animals know how to read energy. So they understand what we like in pets and what makes us happy. So they'll bring that through. I also think that our past pets come and assist our current pets in settling in and all sorts of things. And that's why you'll see your pet running through the house that was past, when you're a child. But I do like to tell clients, because I don't have all the answers, and no one ever will, I think. But if that's your pet and they've come back, or if that's, an energy that's come back, you will recognize it. You're not going to miss it. In the same way as if, say, a mother had a baby and was separated from that baby and then meets it in it as an adult, they instantly know the energy. They instantly know. They just have that pull. So you would find it and you would acknowledge it and you would understand the energy. But from my experience, I just do see them side by side. But that's just my experience. It doesn't mean that's 100% fact. It's just what I've learned so far. So I also do see my childhood pets running through the house. So I see them as different entities, so to speak. Entities is a bad word, but you know what I mean. Animals.
So you see your own childhood pets going through and visiting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So one cat in particular, if I have a change coming up in my life, I will see her with my physical eyes. And then I'm like, oh no, because I'm not one that really likes change, good or bad. I like things even. So that's her job, I guess, for me. She supports me in readings, but if I see her with my physical eyes, I know something's happening. And then I'll know when, say, the dog I put to sleep 2 years ago is in the house, because I feel his energy. I know it's him, and I maybe hear when no one's there, things like that. Same as what people do. So I see them whenever I need them, pretty much, or just when they want to pop in and say hi.
Interesting. So do you want to Joe and Kelly Tamino had a question. JD, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask one thing first.
Okay.
I'm not always the best about getting the viewers involved, but one of the things that you said made me think, do you have spirit guides that are animals?
Yes. I do. So short answer, long answer is I find that my pets that I've had want to support me in this. And it took me a long time to trust because I find it hard to trust people as a rule. So to trust someone else or something else was difficult for me. But my cat, that cat that I see, she's always there and I can feel when she's around. And almost when I go into I call it my working room, I can see them all there. And if they're not directly in front of me, I can feel them around me. So, and I do have certain animals that help me with different things. Like I'll have a cat that will help me with maybe missing cat cases. Or, because I'll say, is this cat alive or dead? Give me something. And she'll give me a different view according to what she sees in spirit. So, and yes, I do. Yes, they help and they want to help. So it's great.
So Matt said hi, and he's Dark Echoes Paranormal Show on Paraflix, Amazon Prime, and then Joe and Kelly Tamino. They seem to be interested. They're a good friend of mine. And then they asked if communicating with animals, are you able to correct or influence their behaviors? Like,
yep. So that's
training. Yes.
Sorry, what was that?
I said like training, like animal behavior training.
Yes. So I can give many examples of that. So with pets, say if you've got a behavior that you don't like or you don't want, and you need to correct it for whatever reason, we need to explain to them why we need it corrected, because it may be something that's actually quite natural to them to do. So you have to give them an alternative. But with animals, it's really, really important to visualize the outcome you want. So even dog trainers will say you have to have that image in your mind of what the outcome is and not what you're seeing. Because if you're seeing and repeating over and over what the outcome that you have at the moment, that's the outcome that's going to keep coming out. The reason being is animals connect to our energy and our thoughts. And so if you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to go to the dishes, got to do the dishes. They've already seen the dishes. They're with you, like, we're going to go do the dishes. So they get in underneath your feet. So if you've got a bad behavior and you think, oh, God, this cat's going to jump up on the kitchen bench again, I'm going to get home. And then you get home and that's exactly what's happened. Or you've got a dog that lunges and you don't want it to lunge. We have to find out why it's lunging. And then we have to give it an alternative, but you have to visualize the outcome. Because when you visualize the outcome and do the training, you have a better opportunity and chance for it to be corrected. You can have animals sit with the thoughts that you send it. I'm going to give you a better example, actually. Now that I've gone on tangent, but I'm going to give you a better example. I have multiple dogs. 2 of them are completely deaf. One is amazing with her hand signals. One will just ignore me if he doesn't want to do it. The one that's amazing, she was on my property. Now I have a large property. It is fully fenced, but I was getting concerned because I couldn't find her. And I stood in the back behind the shed and I sent the message out to her and I said, Bea, I don't know where you are. I know you're on the property. I'm getting really scared. I'm standing here, and sent the image of where I'm standing. I need you to come to me because I'm starting to freak out. And within a few minutes, here she comes trotting along down, it's like, hi, mama, type energy. Now she can't hear a thing. So me panicking and yelling wasn't going to help anyway. But you can send thoughts to your animals. And so you're sending the image of what you want. And that's generally what you're going to have happen. Another example is if you've got a dog that gets off lead and runs straight to the road, your mind is going, oh my God, they're running to the road, they're going to get killed. Your mouth is saying, come back here. You can learn an emergency sit and say sit and visualize sit. You've got a better chance of that dog sitting in the moment. So you can then gather your composure because that's probably all you're going to be able to come up with in that scenario instead of
that's amazing.
Yeah, well, instead of going, come back, come back. You're just not going to visualize that. You need an emergency command, and so do they. If you have it straight, if you have this and this, the mind and the mouth combined, you're generally going to get that outcome. So that is a very long way to say yes to that question, but it is a yes. You can actually influence their behavior by your communication, but also by your energy.
Yeah.
So
that also makes me think when you're sad. So when you're sad or when you're sick, you don't look for them to come find you. They just know to come and comfort you or be around you because you need that.
Exactly. And they're so connected with you. Like you could put your fake on, your fake work face on, and everything's great and everything's happy. Like, we have to do sometimes to go to work and not this work because the animals know, out there in the wild with the people. And you come home and you're like, they know. And cats, even cats that can be a little bit, say, standoffish, if you're feeling sick, they will generally come and sit near you where you're feeling sick. Yeah. And that's a way of energy healing, because you'll notice animals have their own form of energy healing, and they will sit next to the sick sometimes to try and help them and remove energy. And so you can't lie to an animal. They know when you're sick, you're upset, you're mad. They know when you're going to the vet and they don't want to go to the vet because you're and they're off.
How do you visualize that? Visualize a different location so they don't know you're going to the vet?
Well, the thing is, that is that's a good question. You have to visualize the vet being happy and the vet being a happy place. And I would, but the thing is too, if you don't believe it, because animals are going to think and take hold of your most dominant thought. So if you're trying to, and it takes practice, if you're trying to go, the vet's a good place, the vet is a happy place, but in the mind you're going, the animal's going to pick up on that. So you may have to train yourself. You may have to just drive to the vet, be calm, maybe don't go in, but just, have the thoughts or bring extra treats just so you and the pet can associate the vet as being good. Don't visualize your temperature being taken. No animal likes that.
Poor baby.
Terrible. But so it may take a little training for yourself as well to get the dominant thought to be where it needs to be. And that's quite normal.
That's interesting. I never thought about it. So
it'll change your life.
Yeah. So in their lives too, on top of it. So they'll be a much happier little pet, little friend, or your baby, So, but you mentioned earlier though that you also do missing animal cases.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about that and maybe tell us one of the most interesting cases that you have come across?
Okay. Yeah. So you probably saw me go, missing pets. The difficulty with missing pets is that they don't sit in the one spot and they aren't trained to read street signs. So I think it's important for people to understand that if I'm talking to a pet that's lost in the bush, I'm going to see lost in the bush, that sort of stuff. That just set the expectation. I can find out from the energy whether they're feeling lost or whether they've just taken themselves on a little adventure, because there's a very big difference between missing and lost pets. Some just want to go on an adventure. Some are stressed and lost and don't know how to communicate. And they do, but they don't know what to do. They're just stressed. But it is important. Missing pets is a whole topic on its own. There's so much I could go into. I will give you though, let me see, a couple of recent cases that I've worked on. One was not far from here, and this lady was taking her 2 dogs that she'd just adopted within, say, the month. It wasn't very long at all, on a walk, and a Rottweiler came out and went to attack the dogs. The dogs ran off in different directions. One managed to get home and one ran off into the bush. Now, they sort of knew the bushland. And so this is a good example of I see bush, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it took 8 weeks for this dog to come home or to be caught. And so I had a couple of sessions, because the first thing you want to know is this pet alive or dead? I mean, let's face it, that as a pet owner, that's what you want to know. Now, it is never an exact science, and some animals that say get hit by cars may not know straight away that they are dead. So that's like your little gray area. But with this case in particular, I'm like, no, this dog's alive. I can see, I can feel, it can smell, and I can see this. And they could locate the sort of area around where the dog was, but trying to catch a dog that's on the run can also be very difficult. And there's tips around that as well. But then I kept going, it's going in a circle, and I can see it here and it's over here. And then there was something so what people think insignificant was like, I see a car. It's been in a car, but the car hasn't moved. And that's all I got. From that, they realized that there was a place that had like a car yard attached to it, like old cars. And then someone had been feeding something they thought was a cat. And it was actually this little King Charles Cavalier Spaniel dog that had no survival skills, by the way. None. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we're feeding something over there. And so, because I kept saying, the person that knows where your dog is hasn't seen your search. And it was an extensive search. And from that, then they set up cameras, and then they put traps, and then the dog came, they got the dog. So it could be the most random piece of information you get that could help solve a case. Another case I got, it was in the news in Australia. It was really sad. There was this pregnant lady and her partner walking their two dogs, and someone had stolen a car, ran into them. They both died. They got hit and killed, and the dogs ran off. One dog, again, came back to someone. I'm not sure who got it. The other dog was lost, and the other dog had a medical condition. And my friend contacted me and said, you have to help now. And I'm like, I can't. And like, then she said, this dog has Addison's disease. And I was like, oh God, if this dog doesn't get its medication, it's going to die. Like, there's no if, it's a when. So I connected, and I was like, okay, I can see these plants, but these plants look like this. And it's near a toilet block, and there's an open field. And so the search party was sort of over here. And then they decided to take a dog with them to find another dog, like a search dog. And then they moved locations to an open field where there was a toilet block, and then there was a creek further down with trees, and it was just sitting there. And it was on the news, and they found the dog. Thank God. I don't like the publicity of that, so I sort of like stood back and was doing it in the background, like, just you're going the wrong way, you need to so type thing. And then the people that actually were on TV that found the dog contacted me, said, can you help me look for my missing bird? While you're at it. But so sometimes just the plant, seeing a bush or a plant, maybe describing the plant, can be a key indicator of where your pet is. So they're probably a couple of the really good ones. But cats, oh my God, cats have this thing of taking themselves off on little adventures all the time because they want to. And a 3-day journey for a cat is nothing. People think that, cats can't, my dog can't go more than a couple of kilometers. You could find them 20, 30 kilometers away just because I wanted to take myself on a journey. So, yeah, sorry. I know it's really long-winded and I over-explain, but, missing pet cases are interesting, very hard, and you're dealing with stressed people, which I get because I would be stressed. And you basically just want to be given an address, and that's not always the case. So, yeah, can be difficult.
Do cats remain the most difficult species to work with?
Oh, that's a good question. The most difficult. I've dealt with pets. I had a client in Japan. What were they? We don't have them in Australia. They're not gerbil. Maybe they are gerbils. I don't know. It was something where they use a little spinning wheel thing. What are they?
Like a hamster or something?
Or something like that. And I'm like,
or guinea pigs, like the little guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs. It was something different, and it was they were very comical to me. Like I've never seen one in real life. No idea what they do. No idea. But sometimes that's good because I have no idea. So I have no preconceived ideas. And they were really interesting. They were telling me things like I came home in a little orange case, which was a little like carry case. And they considered themselves brothers, although they were like adopted brothers. They were really interesting to talk to because I didn't know anything about them. I did have a snake, even though I am scared of snakes. I did have a snake contact me, and I actually felt so sorry for the snake. It was so bored. It was a pet snake, and it's just like I can't do anything I want to do. I'm just stuck. It was kind of slowly losing its mind, and as much as I would never have picked that snake up or touched it or been anywhere near it, I felt really sad because they have emotions where they can't display their natural, behaviors. It sends them crazy. I had a cat, be difficult. It still spoke to me, but it was very difficult. This cat said to me, "You're an empath. You feel emotions. I'm going to stop talking and just make you feel from now on." And I'm like,
what a surprise, a cat being the boss. That's
right. But what else have I spoken to? God, there's so many. Although I did do Jim's dragon, what are they called? Lizard. Yeah, and I had never spoken to a bearded dragon before, and that was interesting. A little bit terrifying.
Area.
What was that?
Okay, are they judgmental? I always wonder that when I look at them.
Oh,
because they give a little bit of side eye every once in a while. I always wonder if they're a little judgmental.
I found this one to be really smart and really like focusing and understanding what's going on. So it probably comes across as judgmental, but it's probably processing, because I do that. I have resting bitch face when I'm processing.
Yeah. Me too.
And I'm like, yeah. So I think it's probably a little bit of that.
Are supposed to be native to Australia.
Yes. Actually, my cat picked one up the other day and just came, and I'm like, where'd it go? It was fine. No one got hurt. No animals were hurt. But it was a little bit, it was small. But I'm like, oh, Sebastian. And he was so proud of himself. And this thing was so mad. But it hadn't been hurt, so all is well.
So I wonder, when you deal with humans and their loss, when you realize that their pet has passed on, that they're no longer alive, how do you approach that? How do you reach out? Is there a method that you use or a process that you use?
Is that for, say, a missing pet case, or do you mean just in general? Is it a different process
for a missing pet case? But it's I guess you could talk about it the other way around too, if they're still feeling that loss. But especially for the missing pet, because they still have hope that their pet could still be alive.
That's correct. And I find it, I really dread having to say, this is where the energy stops for me. I'm not getting any further information from this. This is where it goes blank. And I let them sort of decide that. And I do say it that way because what if I'm wrong? Not that I want to doubt myself, but what if that's just where it stops for me? And what if that's just where the animal wants to show me? So, I do know what that means, but there's always, I always live in hope too. So I think unless you've actually found that pet or found the body, you should live in hope. And so I always sort of come in on that basis anyway. Like I want to find them alive. That is my goal. And I've also worked with missing pets for the past decade online, like helping people find missing pets. And you know what? To give people hope, the majority of them are alive, and the majority that do die are found quickly because they're found by the side of the road, or that you can smell, those sorts of things. So I'm very careful when I say to someone, I don't think this pet's in this realm anymore. And because I just feel it stop. So I hate it because I think to myself, if that was my pet, how would I feel? So I try to be very aware of that. But I'm also aware of not giving them false hope. So I have to try and word it nicely for them. But yeah, so it is a bit of a fine line. But for me, if I was to connect, say if I just had a normal reading and that the pet was passed, for me, it doesn't really feel much different. So that's to a bit of a fine line as well. Whereas I do know some pet communicators that are psychic only. So if they can't connect, then it's dead. Like that's their 100% reassurance. And that's actually a really good skill because you're like, if they can't connect to passed over pets, then that's like they're probably 100% accurate. Like if I can't, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But for me, it can be a bit of a fine line because sometimes they feel more alive. And I understand that because you don't have fear. You don't have that when you're in that realm. And like when I was in the bottom of the pool, I was calm. I couldn't breathe, but I was fine. But I also want to bring that to people as well. If their pet has passed on or if they've recently put them to sleep or something like that, I try to reassure them that I've been on that side. It's okay. Like my mum's had near-death experience as well where she was in a bad car accident and they actually had to bring her back. And she was depressed. She didn't want to be here. So I try to bring through that. They've got the better deal, and sometimes a sick pet, if they cross over, sometimes their healing is in death and that's okay for them. So, it can be a touchy subject. But I just think if that was my pet, oh my God, I know what it feels. I've had missing pets. It is extremely stressful and all you want to do is find them and you may not take in information because you're so upset and that's hard. So yeah, I just feel sorry for them.
Yeah. It's
horrible.
not easy.
It's not. No.
So you have a show coming up. You're going to be premiering soon on the Spirit Realm Network. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It is coming up soon. I'm not sure the exact date, but it will be. Now, I'm in a different country. So for you guys, it'll be on a Thursday at 8 or 9 p.m. Please allow me an hour error there because there's also daylight savings. But for me, it'll be my Friday because I'm in the future here at 10 a.m. So, and what it'll be a live show connecting with animals. People will write in or, chat on the Spirit Realm Network on their website and, connect with me and ask me questions similar to this and ask me if I can connect to a pet or ask about a behavior problem. So it's all about animal connections, and that's the name of the show, Animal Connections. And so I'm really excited, as you can tell. And I think it's just going to be really good just to help bring the voice to the animals and help people know they can understand their animals and they can have a better connection with their animals and just see them as equals almost. Not humanize them because they're not human. I think they're higher than us anyway, animals. I think they know more than us. So sorry, again, I've got on my tangent, but tune in to the Spirit Realm Network, to my show Animal Connections. It will be coming out, I believe it'll be this month, but very soon. So keep an eye on the website for that and join in if you can.
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. Okay, so question about that. Do you think would it just be chat? Would you actually, just like you were saying, like us, would you be able to see the person? Will you have like the video communication? So can somebody put their dog on and sit them in front of you and you can do a reading like that?
Well, I'm not sure if I have the ability to have their photo up. I'm still working it out, and please forgive me, I'm not technically minded, but if not, what I will ask people to do is give me their name of the pet, say it's cat, dog, breed, whatever they want, whether it's alive or dead, because it does help me just tune in that little bit better, because if you think of the information as a radio station, if you give me 87, but if you give me 87.5, well, that's going to be the better way to tune in. And then give me your question and then I'll tune into the energy, and you will see me like on the screen, but you'll probably see me look down and write a few things, and then I'll connect and then give you the answer from how I sense it from the pet. So I'm not 100% sure that way, but you'll definitely have the ability to chat. I will see all the chat. So it's kind of similar to this where I can see the chats, the comments, and then I can pick them up from there. So so send me your comments.
There you
Is
go.
there a way that people could reach out to you more directly for lost pets?
Yeah. So I do have my website, Nicole is the communicator. Everything for me is connect to animals. So, because that's what I do. So my website is connectanimals.com. My Facebook is Nicole Elizabeth Animal Communicator. The handle is Connect to Animals on YouTube, on TikTok. Oh my God, what is with TikTok world? Sorry, I don't understand it. Maybe I'm too old. I am a child.
Don't ask me.
So, but yeah, so there's multiple ways to reach out. So please do, because animals are my passion. I live and breathe them. And if I can help an animal, just say to someone, like, just be their voice, or bring someone comfort when their pet's in spirit, and know that they are okay and they will see them again. Like that, for me, that's what it's about, because I know they're there. I want to tell people that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about sick pets?
Mhm.
So if somebody has a pet that's sick and they're deciding,
yeah,
should I help them pass, or should I keep trying, keep working to treat them and see if they'll make it? I'm more of a fighter. I'm going to want to fight all the way till the end. But what do you ever have to suggest one thing or another to someone, or do you ever see on the other side of it whether they're going to make it through?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I have so many answers already lined up. So animals do have different personalities. So some are like you, Irene, and some will fight to the very end, to the bitter end, if possible. And some are just like, you know what? No, I'm good. So I do have a case where I'll just use my animals as an example, because I don't want to pick on clients or anything like that, and I don't know if I have their permission, but I did have a dog with bone cancer. The vets thought it was a blown ACL, and then I just got this sense of urgency. Something's wrong. It's not like, you just know. And then we had x-rays and like, actually, he's got bone cancer. And we're like, well, that's why. And then he was actually under from taking the x-ray, and they were sort of asking us, do we want to continue? Should we put him to sleep now? All those sorts of questions. And I just connected with him instantly, and I just felt he wanted to fight. He was a fighter. He was an American Staffy. And I went, you know what? No, whatever we're going to do, we're going to do it. And then he did have treatment, and it was on the basis that he was okay. So I would constantly check in with him. And do you know what? You didn't even know that he was having chemo or anything, because even the specialist was like, this dog shouldn't act like this. He was just, I'm not acknowledging it. But when we do have an animal that's really sick, like does have something, when he was going to die at some stage, it was never going to cure him. And we just had to give him the best life to the point where he was happy with it. And at any stage, if his quality of life, or if he didn't want to continue, we were going to put him to sleep. That was it was a non-negotiable for me. And I knew when he wanted to go. But if you have an animal that's really sick, it's really important not to pre-mourn. A lot of people do that. And, every day we got up and we said, every day with you is a blessing, because that could be his last day. Something could happen, and we may have to make the choice. And he had 18 months. They only gave him a few months to live, and he had 18 months. So we really got a lot of enjoyment out of him, and we did what he wanted to do. And he, at the end, he actually did blow an ACL, because we had that removed, and he was still chasing cyclists because that's what he wanted to do. But the day that he was to be put to sleep, I just felt something's not right. Something's not right. And his previous dad was in spirit. It's a bit of a story behind that, and I won't go on about it, but we got him through sad circumstances, and his dad was in spirit. I could feel his dad, because his dad was a family member, around the property, around me, about the week of him passing. And I kept saying, go away. You're not taking him. Go away. Like, I just knew him coming close was him coming to collect his dog. And then the day that we were to put him to sleep, you just know beyond any thought, this is the day. And what happened was one of his tumors that had reached his lungs had actually burst. And my lungs were on fire. They were just, and I was, it's horrible. So we called the vet to have him come put the dog down, overlooking the mountains in his favorite spot. And this dog that was normally hypo, and they even brought some medication to calm him down to accept, the needle. He didn't need it. He sat there, he put his head down, and they put the needle in, and he just went. He knew, and I was obviously dealing with him the whole time. Are you ready to go? He was so ready. He had just had enough. And so some animals, when you talk to them, they're at that point. When the human has contacted you, they're like, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay to go. I will hold on for them. Generally, they're only holding on for us, not them. They will endure so much for us. But their preference is, I'm ready to go. And I have had to say that to people. And I have said, this pet is excited about the thought of going into spirit realm. I tried to say it in the nicest possible way. Some animals will then have a last, horses do this a lot actually, just before they're going to go, or, they know they're going to go, they have this burst of energy, just one last lap type thing, maybe a couple more days of they perk up and they're okay, so you can say goodbye and they're okay, and then they crash again. And that's when you definitely know that's when they're ready. So it all depends on their personality. My other dog that I've got, she's nearly 14. If she had the same condition that my other dog had that I had to put to sleep, I know she would not want to go through treatment. I know she'd be like, tapping, I'm out. Thanks. Been a great trip. But, so they are all different. And a lot of people do want to fight to the very end. But at some point, it can be considered cruel to keep them going. And thankfully, I've never really had someone that I've actually said, look, this is, you shouldn't be doing this. This is, you're actually torturing this pet. They've always been on that little cusp. And one thing to remember, because you will always question, did I do it too early? Regardless of the circumstances, you always question it. And just remember, it's always better to do it one day early than one day too late. So does that answer the question? Sorry.
That's actually, I mean, that last thought, that's true. One day early is better than one day late. I mean, it's one less day for them suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, over there, they're fine.
Yeah.
Better deal.
Right? It fascinates me too, because the way you describe it is very, pretty much the same as, at least if not similar to how humans have their interactions with spirits at time of death. I mean, the studies that have been done in hospices of people who are near death, seeing their families around, they start talking to their family. And then, and the nurses and the staff know that it's coming. They sometimes see the family members, they see spirit in I mean, a lot of them will never admit it, but some that in the study or that I've spoken to have actually said they see a spirit in the space, and they know that their family's around. They know that the time is close, and it's amazing, that we all have this same energy, whether we're animal or whether we're human. We all handle that love and that connection the same.
Yeah, actually, I never really thought about it. As you're saying, I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because yes, at the end of life, we do have spirits come close. Like my great grandfather was seeing his dead family, and so I never actually made the connection. So I'm glad you did.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you must be a medium. But yeah, true. It's because love is love, right? And the animals, humans, I mean,
and animals are the most unconditional of love, at least most of them, right? Some cats, maybe not, but
some of them have a little attitude. But yeah, sometimes the animals are reflecting our attitudes. So
That's
maybe
true.
it's sometimes a reflection, like maybe you need to take note. Not you in
That's
particular,
true.
guys.
Hey.
No, not you, not you.
No.
My cat does. She reflects me a lot. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good, actually, yeah, good connection. There you go.
Thank you. But it's beautiful that I love is love no matter what form it's in or in our existence, our energy. It is and always will be. It's amazing to me. And how we
Yeah.
can learn from each other. Your experience connects with my experience, connects with JD's experiences, and people who even, don't think they have abilities or don't think they can connect, still have those experiences, are connected to their animals. They still feel that connection.
Yep.
Why can't they feel that connection in death? So
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't change. That's the thing. Death doesn't change our connection. It just maybe alters the relationship, but it doesn't change the connection. So, yeah, human or pets, I think. So, yeah, I love it. I love it. It excites me. So, yeah, anything animals.
and the fact, it's so hard, being a medium, I'm sure, for you, you're happy for them because they're in a better place.
Mm.
And when a medium knows, has a glimpse of what it's like on the other side, so they have that longing to go home. It's that
Yes.
feeling, or the people with near death experiences, they all have this longing to go home.
Yeah.
So it's hard to contain that. And I know it's not the same as being physically connected and touching and feeling, but
Correct.
it's hard to contain the fact that they're fine, they're good.
Yeah. It's like, if I could just download this feeling to you,
Yeah,
and you can
exactly.
feel it. Like it's so fine. Death is not a permanent separation. It's just not. Like yeah. Oh, I could go on about it for days.
I know, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I needed you probably about a year ago. I was in this room and I saw this man walk through the wall with a backpack on, walk through and then go through the door that was shut. And I was so tired. And I just thought, you know what? I'm too tired for this. Can you just keep going? I don't know what reminded me of that, but I thought, imagine if Irene was here. I could have got her to go deal with him.
Next time, just send me a message, give me a call. I'll take care.
Yeah. That's yours. Sorry, that's nothing to do with animals, but I just remembered. I needed you then.
Well, I am always here for you.
Oh.
Well, JD, do you have any other thoughts before closing, or how?
I'm not sure. It would be neat to see what comes up on our show, the animal communication show.
Be either really popular or really bomb. I find there's no in between with me.
I think it'll do just fine. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And there's a lot of people that love their animals. Like we have, local communicators here in the area, and they come out to see them.
Oh, good.
And they even do little blessings and things like that for the pets, and people show up. So I know people will show up for you.
Oh, that's good. Well, if I can get anything across to them, their animals are always giving them messages and signals and information. We just need to learn how we get the information. And once we've got that, I honestly think the world would be a better place because we see it from their perspective.
Yeah.
And we'll be more loving. So, anyway, there you go.
Only thing is, I don't have experience with mediumship. How would you guys handle like going from positive to something that's sad and then back to positive, maintaining your energy through the readings?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. And I actually feel, I don't know about you, Irene, but I feel like sometimes I am on an emotional roller coaster. Like you're just picking up on emotions of someone else, and you just, like, it takes a moment to realize, hang on, this isn't me. And you have to push it away, but then trying to push it away, and like it can be difficult. For me, sometimes I like to go for a jog and just like run away, or clear my head, but nature's great for that. I also don't mind, honestly, a bit of sparkling wine. So That helps me.
A nice shot of whiskey on this end. That's
whatever works. Yeah. I don't know. That is a good question because you do have ups and downs. You'll go from a really sad case, and then it'll just be like the next case will just be so wonderful, and you're like, oh, you're on that high, like
yep.
Yeah. So it can be difficult. I just do whatever I need to do in the moment.
And she said something very key there. It's knowing what your emotion is and what the emotion from the spirit is, or for the energy around you, even the sitter around you. If you're able to maintain that, and we're trained to hold our link to spirit. So whether we're up and down and we're trying to figure out what emotion is ours or not ours, we're still connecting to that link and moving forward. But you have to ground, you have to clear your head. You have to find a quiet. And if you don't do that shadow work, that work deep inside, it's harder to do that. If you don't find that healing space for you, it's harder to handle the up and down. And so she handles it beautifully. I think she runs, she sits with nature. Those are all things that are, healing.
Definitely. Yeah, they definitely help. And also too, like I find that you will attract clients that have similar energy to you. So if I've just like with my animal, with the one that I had to put down, I had a lot of clients after that were going through very similar experiences. You seem to attract that because you can also heal by helping. And so that's another way too that can help. So anyway, there you go. My 2 cents.
Like Irene got frozen.
Yeah, I mean, she looks great.
Sorry.
You've frozen a really nice pose, I must say.
I'm not frozen like.
No, you were great. It was good.
There's like wind behind me. I'm like flowing in the air. Yeah, I don't know what just happened. So I'm back.
Well, it worked.
I'm sure whatever you said was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead and close up the show. So thanks everyone for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you were able to learn something new during this video. We will be hosting another podcast interview next Wednesday at 7 p.m., so keep an eye out for our upcoming guest. Also, in the meantime, make sure to check out the Neppy Investigates YouTube series on our YouTube platform. We have episodes airing each Friday at noon, so make sure to tune in. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.